Mas pinalakas na pagbabalita, komentaryong walang mintis, iba't ibang entertainment. Radyo natin to! Radyo natin to!
Gatchalian offers added security to Ontiveros amid death threats. Jinggoy appeals to SC to attend VP Sara impeachment trial. Marcos's nod on VP Sara's tax records not a deal breaker, says Ridon. Napoles and ex-DAR exec convicted over 50 million fake farm projects. Romualdez Islam's BI demands retraction over alleged attempt to flee the Philippines. Pino presses Marcos Congress to act on teachers' demands. PCSO completes first nationwide patient transport vehicle rollout to all 82 provinces. Labor, trade, and finance agencies form committee to investigate forced labor imports. This and more on Newsline Weekend. Reporting live from Radyo Natin to headquarters, I'm Raven Kaibigan. Newsline Weekend begins right now. And for those of you watching on Facebook and on YouTube, glad you could join us today. Topping the weekend news, Senate President Win Gatchalian on Friday said the Senate was prepared to provide additional security to Senator Risa Ontiveros after she received online death threats following the fatal shooting of political blogger Alicia Lipata. Gatchalian said the threats against lawmakers should never be dismissed, stressing that the chamber was also prepared to work with the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation if more protection was needed. Huwag baliwalain dahil hindi natin alam at kasama talaga sa trabaho natin, Gatchalian told reporters. So sabi ko, ready ang Senate mag-provide ng tulong at security kung kinakailangan. Dagdagan ang security niya, we can also link with the PNP para magpadala ng additional security, he added. The Senate leader recalled that he and Ontiveros also received death threats while leading Senate inquiries into illegal Philippine offshore gaming operators. That's why nag-request ako ng tulong sa Senate. Sabi ko sa kanya, if kailangan niya ng additional security, will provide logistics and manpower, he said. Ontiveros earlier condemned a surge of online threats directed at her after the killing of Lipata, a known supporter of the Marcos administration. In other news, Senator Jinggoy Estrada has asked the Supreme Court to overturn a Sandigan Bayan ruling that barred him from participating in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, arguing that his detention does not stream him of his constitutional duties as a sitting senator. In a petition for certiorari, Estrada, through his legal counsel, Flaminiano Arroyo and Dueñas, argued that the Sandigan Bayan 5th Division committed grave abuse of discretion when it denied his motion on July 9, 2026. His lawyers maintained that although Estrada remains detained at the New Quezon City Jail in Barangay Payatas while facing a non-bailable plunder case, he continues to hold office as an elected senator and retains the constitutional authority to serve as a senator judge in an impeachment court. According to the petition, Estrada should be allowed to hear the evidence firsthand, observe witnesses, ask questions when permitted under the Senate's impeachment rules, and take part in deliberations so he can fully discharge his constitutional responsibilities. His legal counsel also emphasized that the Constitution requires the concurrence of two-thirds of all members of the Senate to convict an impeachable official, arguing that every senator's participation carries constitutional significance. The petition was filed after the Sandigan Bayan rejected Estrada's request to attend the impeachment proceedings despite his continued status as a member of the Senate. Estrada is currently facing plunder and other charges before the anti-graft court in connection with the alleged flood control fund scandal. His lawyers argued that detention pending trial limits only his liberty and does not terminate or suspend his constitutional term as a senator. They further said there is no conflict between allowing Estrada to attend the impeachment trial and ensuring his presence in his own criminal proceedings, noting that he would remain under the custody of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology throughout any authorized court appearances. To support the petition, Estrada's legal team cited a 2008 Supreme Court ruling involving then-detained Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, which recognized that temporary leaves from detention may be granted by authorities or through court orders under compelling circumstances. His legal counsel argued that serving as a senator judge in an impeachment trial constitutes such a compelling circumstance because it involves the performance of a high constitutional duty. Meanwhile, House Prosecutor and Bicol Saro Representative Terry Redon on Friday said the House prosecution panel could still prove its unexplained wealth allegations against Vice President Sara Duterte, even without President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s authorization to release her income tax records. Appearing on a particular program, Redon said Duterte's tax documents were only one part of a broader body of financial evidence that included her statements of assets, liabilities, and net worths or SALNs, anti-money laundering council reports, and bank records. Isang piece of evidence lang po yung buwis. Ang pinakamahalaga naman po, yung kanyang submission relating to the SALNs, Redon said, when asked whether the case would stand even without the Bureau of Internal Revenue records. Tapos meron naman pong AMLC records on which ibabangga po ito doon sa mga bank records ng mag-asawang Duterte Carpio. And ang sinasabi ng kanyang SALN, wala daw cash on hand, cash in bank ng 2019 to 2024. Kapag may nakita tayong cash doon sa bank accounts at any time within that period, SALN violation yun, he added. The Senate Impeachment Court earlier granted the House Prosecution Panel's requests to subpoena the bank, AMLC, tax, and other financial records of Duterte, her husband, lawyer Mans Carpio, and several entities linked to them. The tribunal ordered the production of the bank and AMLC records, but said the release of the income tax returns must first comply with the confidentiality requirements of tax laws. We have to be very clear, pasok po yung AMLC records. It doesn't need the President's approval, he pointed out. Redon said it was the BIR, not the prosecution, that was responsible for seeking the presidential authorization needed to disclose the tax returns. The House prosecutor said he was unaware whether the BIR had already requested Marcos's approval, but expected the agency to have taken the necessary steps. We will wait for the compliance of the BIR on this particular subpoena, he added. Redon maintained that while the tax returns could help establish Duterte's declared income over the years, they were not indispensable to the unexplained wealth case. In other news, the Sandigan Bayan has convicted pork barrel scam mastermind Janet Lim Napoles and the former Department of Agrarian Reform Undersecretary Jerry Pacturan over the diversion of 50 million pesos in government funds intended for farm projects that investigators said never existed. In a 237-page ruling released on Friday, the Anti-Graft Court's 6th Division found Napoles and Pacturan guilty of 10 counts of malversation of public funds through falsification of public documents. Napoles was also convicted on 10 counts of graft, while Pacturan was acquitted of the graft charges after the court found the evidence insufficient to prove his guilt beyond reasonable doubt. The court sentenced Napoles to up to 20 years in prison for each malversation count and up to 15 years for each graft conviction. Pacturan received prison terms of up to more than 19 years for each of the 10 malversation counts. Napoles' former staff member, Evelyn De Leon, was also convicted on 3 counts of each graft and malversation, although she was acquitted in 7 other counts due to lack of evidence. According to the court, Pacturan conspired with several DAR officials and private individuals linked to Napoles to release 5 million pesos each to 10 non-government organizations or NGOs allegedly controlled by Napoles for supposed agricultural projects in Luzon. The decision said Pacturan signed the 10 memoranda of agreement with local governments and NGOs despite lacking authority and despite apparent irregularities in the document. The court also found that Napoles orchestrated the falsification of documents used to obtain the funds. If said, she directed De Leon and other staff to prepare fabricated request letters, forge the signatures of mayors and notaries, not public, and submit the documents to DAR to facilitate the release of government checks. Prosecutors said the money was intended to provide farm inputs to 10 local government units, but witnesses testified that no such projects were ever implemented. 8 mayors from Bulacan, Batangas, Pangasinan, and Quezon also told the court that the signatures appearing on funding requests were forged. The prosecution clarified that the case did not involve the Priority Development Fund or Assistance Fund, but regular DAR funds. Meanwhile, charges against 2 accused were dismissed following their deaths, while 3 other co-accused remain at large. The petition also assured the High Court that Estrada is not a flight risk and would remain under government custody if permitted. Coming up next on Newsline Weekend. From Wallace Islam's BI demands retraction over alleged attempts to flee the Philippines. Nino presses Marcos and Congress to act on teachers' demands. PCSO completes first nationwide patient transport vehicle rollout to all 82 provinces. Labor, Trade, and Finance agencies form committees to investigate forced labor imports. More news coming your way when Newsline Weekend returns. Welcome, You're still tuned in to Radyo Natin To Newsline Weekend. I'm Raymond Kaibigan. The camp of former Speaker Martin Romualdez called on the Bureau of Immigration to retract its fake news statement and apologize for publicly claiming that the former leader of the House of Representatives was planning to leave the country. Representative Romualdez is constrained to register his strongest objection and protest against the circulation by the Bureau of Immigration of false and unverified reports, especially or specifically its supposed receipt of information regarding purported plans of Representative Romualdez to leave the country. The letter dated July 24, 2026, addressed to Immigration Commissioner Joel Anthony Viado, said these reports are patently false, misleading, and gravely prejudicial to Representative Romualdez and the proceedings pending before the Sandigan Bayan in People versus Romualdez. The letter further read. The letter sent by the Solis Medina Fajardo and Malilong law offices also called on the BI to disclose the source of the alleged information. On July 21, BI spokesperson Dana Sandoval said that the Bureau had received information that there were plans that did not push through, a statement later cited by the Office of the Ombudsman in publicly accusing Romualdez of attempting to leave the Philippines. By their plain import, the confirmation attributed to the Bureau create the unmistakable public impression that Representative Romualdez attempted to flee the country to evade the jurisdiction of Sandigan Bayan and the pending criminal investigation against him. This is a grave accusation with no basis in fact, and it directly undermines Representative Romualdez's constitutional right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, the letter said. The restrictions on Representative Romualdez's right to travel are presently sub judice and, as such, are not proper subjects of public comment, discussion, or speculation, much less the dissemination of unverified, false, or fabricated information. Public statements of this nature issued by the law enforcement agency tend to influence public opinion on a matter still sub judice and impede the fair and orderly administration of justice, it added. The legal team said that at no time has Representative Romualdez taken any action to evade any lawful court order or judicial process or to place himself beyond the reach of Philippine authorities. Invoking the standards set on government officials under Code of Conduct and the ethical standards for public officials and employees under Republic Act 6713, Romualdez's lawyers demanded that the BI disclose the source of the alleged information, explain what verification it undertook before releasing it to the media, identify the officials who authorized its disclosure, and immediately correct what they described as a false public narrative that Romualdez intended to flee the Philippines. In other news, House Deputy Minority Leader Antonio Tino has called on President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Congress to place teachers' salaries, benefits, and working conditions at the center of the administration's agenda as the State of the Nation address and deliberations on the proposed 2027 national budget approached. The ACT Teachers Party-list representative issued the appeal ahead of Marcos's penultimate SONA on July 27, saying the country's education crisis could no longer be sidelined by the government. He noted that the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, together with hundreds of public school teachers, private school educators, and university professors, trooped to the House of Representatives last May to press lawmakers to take concrete action on education reform and teachers' welfare. The educators sought an entry-level monthly salary of 50,000 pesos for public school teachers and an increase in the personal economic relief allowance to 5,000 pesos. The teachers met with Speaker Faustino D. III, House Appropriations Committee Chair Mika Swansing, House Basic Education Committee Chair Roman Romulo, House Higher and Technical Education Committee Chair Jude Asidre, and House Minority Leader Marcelino Libanan. Teachers came here last May not just to advocate for their own welfare, but to demand that Congress fix a broken education system that is failing our children, Tinu said. Now, as the president prepares his SONA, he must address this crisis head on. As we begin the budget deliberations, the commitments made during the lobbying must be translated into concrete allocations. The demands of our teachers must be at the forefront, not treated as an afterthought, he said. Pino also criticized the supposed rushed implementation of the three-term school calendar, persistent textbook shortages, and broken promises involving the academic recovery and accessible learning program. The lawmaker also pushed for the passage of teachers' protection legislation, a Magna Carta for private school teachers, a revised Magna Carta for public school teachers, and a measure lowering the optional retirement age for government employees. The teachers have spoken. Congress must listen and act, not with promises, but with concrete legislation and budget allocation that show teachers are valued, Pino added. Every Philippine province now has a government-provided patient transport vehicle after the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office on Friday completed what it described as the country's first government-led nationwide distribution of patient transport vehicles to all 82 provinces, marking the latest milestone in one of the Marcos administration's flagship healthcare initiatives. The final batch of 34 patient transport vehicles was turned over during a ceremony at the provincial capital in the city of San Fernando, Pampanga, completing the rollout across the remaining provinces in Region 1, 2, 3, and the Cordillera Administrative Region. According to the PCSO, every province now has this dedicated patient transport vehicles intended to strengthen emergency medical response and improve access to health care services. The access to healthcare services. The agency said the accomplishment also marks the first time in Philippine history that all provinces have been provided with ambulances through a government-led programs. The provincial rollout follows the agency's completion of the nationwide distribution of patient transport vehicles to all cities and municipalities in early December 2025. With the latest turnover, the PCSO said it has now provided a total of 1,830 patient transport vehicles nationwide, including 164 patient transport vehicles distributed under the program. PCSO General Manager Melquiades Robles said the completion of the nationwide provincial rollout fulfills President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s directive to make emergency medical assistance more accessible to every Filipino. This mission is guided by the vision of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. that no Filipino, no matter how far or how humble their circumstances, should never be left without access to emergency medical care. The patient transport vehicles are intended to provide safe and timely transport for patients requiring immediate medical attention, helping local government units strengthen emergency response and facilitate transfers to appropriate healthcare facilities. The Patient Transport Vehicle Program is among the PCSO health initiatives, alongside medical assistance for individuals and funding support for public health institutions and facilities nationwide. And finally, a shipment entering the Philippines could soon face greater scrutiny if there are signs it was made through forced labor, as the government moves to build a system that will track, investigate, and respond to goods tied to labor exploitation. The Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Trade and Industry, and Department of Finance have created an interagency committee to investigate imported goods that might involve forced labor, formalizing a new mechanism aimed to protecting workers consumers and legitimate businesses from unfair trade practices. The committee was created through a joint administrative order signed by DOLE Secretary Francis Tolentino, DTI Secretary Cristina Roque, and Department of Finance Secretary Frederick Go. The order brings together key government agencies to collect reports on imported goods that might involve forced labor, investigate claims, and advise authorities on other appropriate actions. The committee will be led by DTI and vice-chaired by DOLE, with the DOF, Bureau of Customs, Board of Investments, and Philippine Economic Authority as members. The initiative supports President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s push against unfair labor practices and is intended to help ensure that local markets remain clean, fair, and free from goods produced through forced labor. Tolentino said the creation of the mechanism represents a significant step for the Philippines in strengthening protections for workers and upholding labor rights. Through the shared system, concerned government agencies will be able to exchange information, investigate suspicious shipments, and take action against goods produced through forced labor. A quick roundup of today's headlines. Gatchalian offers added security to Ontiveros amid death threats. Jinggoy appeals to SC to attend VP Sara impeachment trial. On Sara's tax records, not a deal breaker, says Ridon. Napoles and ex-DAR exec convicted over 50 million peso fake farm projects. Romualdez Lamb's BI demands retraction over alleged attempt to flee the Philippines. Pino presses Marcos and Congress to act on teachers' demands. PCSO completes first nationwide patient transport vehicle roll out to all 82 provinces. And the Departments of Labor, Trade, and Finance agencies form committee to investigate forced labor imports. And those are the stories making headlines today, July 25, 2026. For Newsline Weekend, I'm Raymond Kaibigan. Keep it here on Radyo Natin To. Rise and Shine Weekend will come your way at 7 in the morning. Good morning.
Mas pinalakas na pagbabalita, komentaryong walang mintis, iba't ibang entertainment. Radyo Natin To.